Christina and the Complete Jew. A novel by Dr. A. Ahmed. This story is a continuation of the narration of the story of the Arab sugar daddy and the beautiful Indian girl, and the story of the Indian child bride and the old Arab husband, and the story of the Indian Miss World and the rage of Muslims of the world. They were written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. A. Ahmed. It is a love story narrated in 6 books. Book 4, In Search of a Companion in Her Lonely Life. Copyright. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author except by a reviewer, who may quote brief passages from the review for general printing in a magazine, newspaper, school journal, or university article. All characters in this novel are fictional, and any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. Chapter 19. The Rare Chance of Survival in the Indian Jungle. Christina remained in her lifeless state until the hot sun of the following day revived her body. Her survival is nothing short of a miracle, for anyone witnessed that brutal rape or saw her lifeless body lying in the jungle after those 2 Muslim policemen were through with it. She came back to life with a strong headache while each part of her body was giving her terrible pain. She does not know where she is and cannot see anyone around. She discovered that those 2 wicked policemen had not only raped her, but robbed her handbag, expensive jewelry, and money. She found her body still wrapped in the black burqa the good old woman had given her, and her jeans in her body. Her torn shirt and underwear disappeared from her body. She forced her badly battered and brutally raped body to move and began to walk aimlessly in that lonely jungle. She is quite lucky that no wild beast has devoured her unconscious body at night or come her way while she is moving forward. After walking for some time, Christina reached a rough road. She decided to keep walking on that road. She is hoping that someone may see her and rescue her. She is scared she may come across some men who mistake her for a prostitute and rape her again and kill her. Moreover, she is frightened that she may be eaten alive by a wild beast in that scary Indian jungle of Maharashtra state. Fortunately, she had not walked for long before seeing a big bus approaching her. She stood in the middle of the road and waved her hands to the bus driver. The driver stopped his bus a few meters away from her. The bus assistant came out and called her to hurry up. When Christina reached the bus and climbed in, she found many passengers inside. None of them talked to or asked her where she had come from and where she was going. The assistant stood up from his seat and asked her to occupy it. He moved to the back of the bus and stood at the back door. After she sat in the rear seat, the bus resumed its trip as if she is a passenger that the driver and the assistant were expecting to find and pick her up from nowhere in the scary jungle. All other passengers mistook her for a prostitute who had sex with some men in the jungle. But none of them bothered to ask her why those men who had brought her from the city and had fucked her all night long in the jungle had returned in their car and left her all alone to be eaten alive by wild beasts. Christina remained silent until the bus reached Mumbai city. During the long trip, her thoughts are so clouded, and her mind is deeply engrossed in the events of the previous day. They are as if a horror movie she is watching somewhere in a movie theater or nightmares she is dreaming about throughout the night. When the passengers began to come out of the bus assistant stopped her and asked her to pay 200 Indian rupees. Christina apologized and told him that she had been robbed of her purse and money by 2 wicked policemen who raped her in their office and then took her and dumped her comatose body in the jungle. The assistant neither believed her story of rape and robbery nor is willing to let her go until the driver intervened and asked him to allow her to leave. Christina promised to send a check to them as soon as she reached her apartment. The driver believed her words and asked the assistant to give her the address of his bus office. After that, the abused and raped American girl took a taxi and returned to her apartment. When she reached there, she called her Christian husband and asked him to pay the taxi driver. She then, in hot tears and with a broken heart, narrated to her husband her bad experience with her stepfather and the horrifying public assault and gang rape she went through during her visit to Mumbai. She asked him to come with her to the police station so that she must complain to her evil stepfather, those wicked boys, and the two lawless Muslim policemen who raped her inside their police office and dumped her lifeless body in the jungle. Her husband strongly opposed her decision to complain. He told her that she may not be able to prove she had been raped by two policemen. He said to her further that in India the criminal court will not accept a DNA result or even issue an order to conduct such a test. Her husband continued to contest all her complaints until finally he told her, "You have asked for it." Christina has felt as if her husband has said to her, "You deserve to be raped for your disobedience and murder too." He is talking to her as if she is not his wife, and it is his duty as her husband to protect her and fight against those who assaulted and raped her. Also, he said to her that such a trial may take years before the Mumbai Criminal Court can pass its final judgment on it. It has become abundantly clear to Christina that her husband's main concern is to use her to immigrate to his promised land, America. He does not care about her injured honor, humiliation, and the brutal way she was gang raped. Besides that, he does not care if she can find her Muslim mother or not. He just wants to use her to achieve his life dream of reaching the heaven of his paradise land. Swallowing her pride, Christina decided to soldier on alone. On the same day, she approached the Bandra police headquarters and complained about her evil stepfather, those Muslim boys who abused her, and the two wicked policemen who raped her at Mumbai town. The first thing the police have done is to send her to a hospital for treatment. After that, they referred her complaint to the Thane police headquarters. The police of Thane issued an arrest warrant against Mullah Sheikh Al-Din Khan, who was arrested the same day. When the devil incarnate was interrogated by Thane police, Mullah Sheikh Al-Din Khan denied that he told the boys to attack the Christian girl who came to his house and falsely claimed to be the daughter of his third Muslim wife. Moreover, he said his wife Rehaniji herself said she has no daughter. In his statement, which he spoke under oath by placing his right hand on his holy Quran, the Mullah Sheikh Al-Din Khan falsely claimed that his Muslim wife came out of the house and saw the Christian girl and said she had never seen her before, and she has no kind of relationship with her. The Imam's words sounded convincing to the Thane police when he said the girl who said her name was Christina Fernandez was a Christian young woman and his wife Rayhana Khan was a Muslim woman. Therefore, the police released him and left the case to be decided by the judge and his jury in the Mumbai Criminal Court. Accordingly, Christina has been notified by the Bandra police that her case must go to criminal court, and she will receive a letter from the court sometime in the future informing her of the date and time of her trial. Regarding her complaint against those two Muslim policemen who allegedly raped her, the Thane police could not arrest them because there are more than 30 small police stations in Mumbai town. In each police station, there are 2 or 3 policemen in charge. Christina could not give the full names of her alleged rapists, the name of the police station where she went to complain, the name of the rickshaw driver who drove her there, or the names of her juvenile attackers. The complainer girl is not sure whether the name of one of the 2 policemen is Muhammad, Majub, Mammon, Mahnoun, and the like. Every time, she kept on pronouncing a different name. There are over 200 policemen in Mumbai by those names. Christina could not remember at all the name of her alleged second rapist. When the Thane police went to that area, no one came forward to testify about the alleged public attack and gang rape attempt of the Christian girl who came to visit the house of Mullah Sheikh Al-Din Khan. Some Muslim men and women who are truly eyewitnesses to the crime have denied that they have ever seen a Christian girl visiting the holy abode of their righteous Imam, Mullah Sheikh Al-Din Khan. Chapter 20. The Hellish Life of Christina in India. The abused American wife Christina Fernandez became incensed when she learned that her case is now referred to court and that her stepfather had claimed that his third wife denied ever having a daughter. He said his wife has only 3 sons and has not given birth to any female in all her life. Even so, Christina has not been in the least disappointed from her quest and steeled herself and prepared to spend so much money on appointing a good lawyer and paying any required court fees for the fight ahead against those who abused her and the evil mullah who barred her from seeing her mother. She is even more determined to meet her biological mother Rayhana Khan and punish those who had gang raped her. She decided to approach a lawyer to fight her case in court. Her decision to remain in India indefinitely and fight a rape case in court drove her husband to insanity, filled his heart with uncontrollable rage, and turned his parents and siblings into vicious attackers against her. Brother Bruno began to accuse sister Christina of trying to fool him and stay in India forever or flee to the States without him and his parents. He started to quarrel with her every day. Their quarrel reached the church leadership again. The senior pastor of the church told Sister Christina that fighting a rape case at court against a Muslim religious leader who is the imam of the biggest mosque in Mumbai town and 2 unknown Muslim police officers for sure will take years. Subsequently, he took the side of her husband and advised her to forget about her rape case and her search for her Muslim mother and take her husband and his parents and return to America and live there together peacefully and happily. Nevertheless, this time Sister Christina rejected the advice of her church pastor and went ahead and appointed a lawyer. But the lawyer also advised her to forget about the rape case because she has no proof. She neither knows the names of her alleged rapists nor the address of the police station where the crime was committed. He has also reminded her that she does not know the name of any of the Muslim boys who had physically assaulted her, molested her body, and tried to rape her in broad daylight. His main concern is the fact that she cannot conclusively prove that Mullah Sheikh al-Din Khan had instructed the Muslim boys to rape her. In legal speak, he cautioned her that her statement lodged at the Bandra police headquarters stated that the boys did not rape her, but assaulted her physically and exposed the upper part of her body. In that case, even if he can prove in court the assault charges, the judge and his jury for certainty will be unwilling to convict them on her allegation of rape. Her rape by 2 police officers inside one of the police stations in Mumbai town is out of the question because she has zero evidence. Therefore, her lawyer advised that she should concentrate on her Muslim mother's issue. He assured her that the criminal court would bring Mullah Sheikh al-Din Khan's 3rd wife, Begum Rehanaji Khan, into the courtroom and question her in front of everybody. In addition, he said to her even if her mother supposedly decided to deny her blood relationship with her daughter, she could still file for a maternity DNA test. He assured her in such a case the Mumbai court would issue an official order for the DNA test to be conducted on her and her assumed biological mother. But she must pay for the charges of the maternity DNA test. Accordingly, the American woman Christina Fernandez followed the advice of her Indian lawyer, concentrated on her mother's issue, and reluctantly ignored her evil stepfather's instigation of the exposure of her nakedness by those pack of Muslim boys and gang rape by those 2 wicked policemen. While the abused American woman Mrs. Christina Fernandez is waiting for her biological mother's case to be decided by the Mumbai court, Brother Bruno and his family turned her life into a living hell, launching into a synchronized nagging and harassing assault culminating with trying to force her return to America. When it became impossible for her to put up with their harassment, she approached the senior pastor and his wife and demanded either to be divorced immediately by the church from her Christian husband or be separated permanently from him. The senior pastor and his wife tried desperately to convince her to rebuke the devil and return and live with her husband. Nonetheless, this time, she strongly rejected their counsel and advice and demanded divorce or separation. When she refused to listen to their advice, the senior pastor and his wife called for a big leaders meeting again and invited Brother Bruno and his parents. All 8 pastors and their wives, who are female pastors too, have been invited to the important meeting. After a long meeting, which was full of arguments based on biblical quotations, one of the leaders suggested a solution based on a compromise. According to his solution, Sister Christina can stay indefinitely in India and pursue her Muslim mother's legal case in Mumbai court. First, she must take her husband, his father, and his mother, fly with them to America, and then come back alone to Mumbai to finish her mother's case. Seeds of this solution were already planted in the mind of the senior pastor and the leader who proposed it by Brother Bruno's father. Bruno's parents agreed to cover the expenses of their trip to America, but their daughter-in-law's trip up and down from India to the United States of America and vice versa should be covered by her. Moreover, she must purchase the air ticket of her husband. By this time, the Fernandez clan came to know that their stubborn daughter-in-law had an unbelievably huge hidden treasure of millions of US dollars or crores of Indian rupees, and they suspected that she inherited her huge wealth from her late Saudi husband. Bruno's two sisters made nasty rumors about the great wealth issue and began to spread them among their female circles in the church. There are two versions of the rumors, and both are ugly and malicious and done great damage to the reputation of their brother's wife. Sometimes, they told their girlfriends and their families that she got her huge wealth through whoredom while she was an actress and became the highest-paid, high-profile waif of Bollywood or the most desired prostitute in the film industry. Other times they accused her of arranging the murder of her late Saudi business tycoon husband when he was in the Arthur Road jail and inherited his millions of dollars and many overseas properties. They even said she had paid the late Christian prisoner, Mr. Joseph Varghese, 20 million Indian rupees, and therefore she convinced him to strangle to death her 80-year-old Saudi husband inside his cell in the Arthur Road men's jail. And that is how the bribed Christian man killed her Arab Muslim husband. That Christian man shortly after the murder became mad and got shot and killed in his mental hospital by Muslim terrorists, and his family received nothing from the prostitute of Bollywood. Their second rumor sounded more convincing to any girlfriend who did a hasty internet search on the life of the Bollywood Iranian heroine and former Miss World Aphrodite Krishna Khan. When the two sisters discovered the wife of their brother was filthy rich, they convinced their mother to demand the dowry of their brother from his American wife. The greedy mother-in-law demanded from her daughter-in-law 1 crore of Indian rupees, which equals 10 million rupees. Christina told her she did not have money. She quickly added, "Even if I have it, I will not pay my husband a dowry of 10,000 rupees, and if he does not like it, let him divorce me." She reminded her greedy mother-in-law that according to the Indian custom, the dowry is supposed to be paid by the father of the bride. She then said when her Muslim father died, her poor mother had no money to bury him in the Muslim Kabristan or purchase his burial clothes until the government workers burned his corpse into ashes just like a dead Hindu man. Finally, she said to her husband's mother, "If you want a dowry from me, you have to resurrect the ashes of my father and demand your debts from him." Even though she understood that her bad daughter-in-law had spoken to her with disrespect, still, the greedy mother-in-law still ignored her mocking words. She concluded that the greatest dowry for their beloved son they are going to receive is the American Golden Immigration Visa to the Promised Land, the land that flows with honey and money. And over there in their paradise, the beloved son along with his dear parents and his new Indian Mangalorean virgin bride, who are going to wed their son Bruno with her after he divorced his bad wife. And all of them will live together in the USA in the everlasting life of bliss and happiness. At any rate, after the big meeting, Sister Christina reluctantly accepted the church leadership's compromise and its conditions. She has been brainwashed by the cunning arguments of the female leaders and deceived through the many biblical verses that have been quoted out of context by the pastors. Consequently, she acted on the decision of the church leadership, applied for immigration visas for her husband and 2 in-laws, and bought their air tickets to the States. Nevertheless, with only 2 weeks left for the American consulate to issue the golden visas to the Promised Land for brother Bruno and his parents, something unexpected happened that changed everything and turned the already problematic married life between the American wife and her Christian husband upside down. The Fernandez clan felt as if the devil himself came out of the bottomless pit with his 2 horns on his head and turned their lives into a living hell. But their daughter-in-law felt as if the angel of God came down from heaven and took her out of her hellish married life and placed her on her way to paradise. One day, the American wife's sister Christina told her Indian husband brother Bruno that she was going to meet her lawyer in his office in the Churchgate area in Mumbai downtown and requested him to accompany her, but as usual, her husband refused without giving any justifiable reason. So, she took a taxi and traveled from the Bandra area to Churchgate all alone. It takes close to 2 hours by taxi. During her long trip, her mind is pondering on her miserable life in India. She felt as if she was cursed from birth, that wherever she went she always fell victim to abuse and rapes of selfish people and evil men. She concluded that her life is always a failure. Her inability to punish those who abused and raped her and her failure to convince the church leadership to divorce her from her abusive husband drove her to the extent of being despairing and suicidal. She has become more desperate and suicidal than when she lost her dear lover Uncle Jimmy and beloved daughter Rayhana. She decided to end her life, but she had no guts to do so. As before, she wishes that she could find someone and pay him to shoot her with his gun in her head or ram her down with his speedy car. Nevertheless, while the taxi was passing through Marine Drive and she was just 15 minutes away from the Churchgate area, Christina spotted someone sitting on the beach. At first, she thought she was hallucinating or experiencing daydreams. Despite that, she stopped the taxi immediately, paid her fare, and came out. Then she crossed the busy seashore street and began to run towards the person she was still seeing sitting by the seashore. She has never run so fast in all her life as today. When she reached him without talking to him, she just threw her arms around him and embraced him. The person recognized her immediately. He also responded to her embrace and hugged her. She felt as if she emerged out of the physical world and entered a heavenly realm. Christina has never become exceedingly happy in all her life as she has become at this moment. She has never kissed a boy on his lips in front of everyone except this day. It is her American lover and spiritual friend, the complete Jew, Michael Lewinsky. Christina felt as if an angel came down from heaven and pulled her out of a dark and deep well. She has the same feeling that she experienced when Michael came to the Jewish home where he found her and took her out of her gloomy and suicidal mood and drove out of her being the pain and sorrow and filled her heart with joy unspeakable. He also planted in her heart his unconditional and everlasting love and the divine love of the Christian God. Chapter 21. Christina meets an angel in Bombay. On that beautiful day, when the lovers accidentally met after a long time of separation, the American wife felt as if she met the angel of God. Christina learned that her lover Michael came with a group of American Christians to visit her country and do missionary work in Mumbai and other cities in South India. She almost flew in the air due to the great joy that suddenly filled her entire being, just like the dew of heaven. She forgot about her lawyer, took her lover to a big restaurant, and began to tell him about her miserable life in India. She told him what had happened in her life after he left her in the Jewish home with his grandparents and returned to Harvard University. She also told him about her conversion from Islam to Christianity and her celibacy vow to be a committed Christian girl, live like him as a nun who wedded herself to Christ and never married a man. Michael explained to her that she had misunderstood him, and he felt guilty for confusing her. Then he told her about his first love letter, which he sent to her through his friend. He said to her in that letter he betrothed her to be his Christian fiancée and promised to marry her in the church on his second visit if she accepted his betrothal. After that, Christina began to narrate to Michael her bad experiences with the Christian churches of India. She explained how she was disappointed by the first two churches she visited at the beginning of her search for a proper church in Mumbai. The first church she visited was one of those mainline Protestant churches, which is called the First Church of India. When she felt unwelcomed and unwanted in that mainstream church, she went to one of those fanatical Pentecostal churches, simply called the South Indian Ceylon Pentecostal Church, which is a branch of the Mother Church in Madras City. When she entered that church, she thought she had come by mistake to a Muslim mosque. Men and women sat separately, and every female was covering her entire body and head with a big Indian sari, just like Muslim women putting on hijabs and abayas. The only difference between the mosque and that church is that the female believers can sit in the same prayer hall with their male counterparts. Christina then narrated to Michael how she was openly being kicked out of that church because of her Western clothes and was told never again to step a foot there. After that, her steps took her to a born-again church. Her real trouble started as soon as she joined this born-again group. Some of the main leaders of this third church convinced her it was a heresy and abomination against God to make such an unchristian vow of celibacy. They said only the Catholic popes, priests, nuns, and monks make such pagan vows. Afterward, Christina briefly narrates to Michael her abusive married life with Bruno Fernandez and that she wishes to get released from him and his selfish parents and his two wicked sisters who are called Nat, Lynn, and Sylvia. Michael told her that she need not stay with someone who did not love her and that his only aim was to use her to immigrate to America. He stressed in no uncertain terms that it is unfair to be forced to live in married life when neither party loves the other. No church has the right to force a wife to live an abusive married life. He made her understand that a marital relationship, which was built on deception and selfish motives, was not based on the truth from the beginning. Accordingly, her American lover convinced her that she was not going to commit any sin if she walked out of such a selfish matrimonial relationship. The Christian wife of Bruno Fernandez has accepted her lover's wise advice. Therefore, instead of visiting her lawyer that day, Christina asked Michael to accompany her to the American consulate in the Nariman Point area. As soon as they reached the consulate, Christina Fernandez informed the American consul that she decided to cancel her application for sponsoring and taking her spouse Bruno Fernandez and her in-laws to America because her relationship with her husband had been broken and they no longer living together. The consulate officer told her that she was going to lose some of the fees she paid if she decided to cancel her application at this last stage. She said to him she did not mind if she got back nothing at all from what she paid. Therefore, that day, the American woman Christina Fernandez officially canceled her application for sponsoring her Indian spouse, her father-in-law, and her mother-in-law to the United States of America. Moreover, she went to the Air India airline building and canceled the air tickets that she bought for her husband, his parents, and herself. Air India refunded her full amount without any deductions. Then Christina decided to move out of the apartment of her husband and rent her apartment. She gave her cell phone number to her American lover and asked him to meet her again on the seashore where they met. Before she kissed him goodbye, Christina told Michael that meeting him after so long and in a place and a country that she had never expected made her believe she had met an angel in the form of a human. On the same day, Christina approached a rental agency in the Bandra area and asked for a furnished double-bedroom apartment. The manager of the rental office told her that he had a vacant apartment that suited her requirements. She has become pleased with the description and paid her advance and first month's rent before seeing the apartment. Then, she received the keys and the address of her new apartment. After that, she returned to her former apartment. She has not told her husband anything. She behaves as if nothing has happened. When her husband asked her about her lawyer, she said he did not come to his office due to some urgent work he went to do at the court. She said further that she would go tomorrow to meet him. Her husband is a bit surprised by her changed mood. She looks happy and excited like a small girl. Sister Christina and brother Bruno hardly share the same bed. Each one sleeps in a different bedroom and rarely does the married couple meet in one bed and have sex. Their sexual activity is reduced to once in 2 weeks and sometimes one time in the month. None of the two is interested in the other. Before they got married, her husband told her that he did not want to have a child until he reached America. It was he who suggested she use an IUD to prevent any accidents. Brother Bruno is a deeply religious person. He loves to spend his spare time watching Christian videos of Western preachers, especially American preachers like Benny Hinn, Morris Cerullo, T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen, and Creflo Dollar, among others. He hardly sits and prays with his American wife. His wife has different inclinations and interests in life. She likes to spend her free time playing her guitar and singing some old spiritual hymns. She also loves to read the Bible and pray all alone in her separate room. Therefore, the two had already been separated from each other physically and spiritually. They are behaving like roommates sharing the same apartment. Nevertheless, the church pastors force them to live together as is their custom and their way. Meanwhile, since their American Golden Visas are supposedly going to be issued after 2 weeks, Mr. Fernandez, Mrs. Fernandez, and their blessed son, Bruno Fernandez, have decided to have a farewell party. The party will be celebrated in honor of their immigration to their promised land, the land that is flowing with much money and eternal happiness. Their trip to the United States of America with their daughter-in-law has been scheduled to take place 2 days from the day their honorable visas will be handed to them at the American consulate. The Happy Fernandez family members booked the biggest auditorium in the Bandra area and invited over 500 families from their church for their farewell party. They spent a lot of money on renting the spacious hall and the caterers who are supposed to prepare the best Indian delicacies of food for the guests. The American wife Christina waited until her Indian husband Bruno went to work the following day before she began to write him a short goodbye letter. She informed him of her intention to move out. It is supposed to be the last working day for brother Bruno in India. He had already informed his boss, submitted his resignation letter, and terminated his job. He went to Nariman Point, where his workplace is located and where he worked for 10 years, to receive his last payment check from the payroll department and invite his boss and colleagues to his farewell party. Anyway, Christina does not tell her husband in her farewell note where she is going to stay and when she is going to see him again. She took her passport and other necessary belongings and left. She has not taken a single utensil or spoon or any piece of furniture or chair from his apartment. She has only packed up all her clothes and jewelry, carried her Bible, hymn book, and guitar, and walked out of his door for good. Before she left, Christina had not touched anything belonging to her husband. Moreover, she did not mention in her final separation note anything about the cancellation of her application sponsorship for her spouse and his parents to the USA. Next, she hired a taxi and gave the driver the address of her new apartment. When she reached her apartment, opened its door, and walked in, she was shocked. She found it spacious, has 2 big bedrooms, and is beautifully decorated and furnished. When she walked around it, she felt as if she was in a Western apartment. Then, she placed her luggage in one bedroom and left. After that, she took another taxi and headed towards Marine Drive to meet at the beautiful seashore of the Arabian Sea her American lover and spiritual boyfriend, the complete Jew who descended to her from the paradise of America into the hell of India as the archangel of God Michael to take her out of the bottomless pit of her chaotic and hellish married life. Chapter 22. Christina's American lover faces a dilemma. Michael Lewinsky came from America to Mumbai to look for his beloved girlfriend Christina. He took advantage of the missionary group and volunteered to join them on their long voyage to India. He is the only one among the group who paid for his air tickets and his other expenses out of pocket. All this time, Michael has never forgotten his Indian girlfriend Christina, nor has his love for her grown cold. He waited for her to return from India, but when she did not come back, he decided to go and look for her. Her first love letter to him mentioned that she was flying to India and trying to locate her biological Muslim mother in Mumbai. Therefore, he thought she may still be in her motherland. He has no address to trace her in the biggest cosmopolitan Indian city, which has a population of over 20 million people. He believes that she is attending a church in Mumbai, and that is where he expected to find her. The moment he arrived, he managed to acquire the local phone book and started vetting the names and addresses of every single church in town. Each Sunday, he presented himself at a different church in the hope of finding her. His search was awfully slow and for 2 months yielded nothing. Nonetheless, he did not give up and went on visiting all Protestant churches in Mumbai. He does not expect to find her in a Catholic church or an Orthodox church. After 2 months, the American missionary group left Mumbai and traveled to Tiruvananthapuram city, the capital of Kerala state, in South India. Michael refused to forsake his search for his beloved Indian girlfriend and remained behind. When his group left, he began to stay in a small hotel at Colaba. Before that, for 2 months, the American group was provided free accommodation in a Catholic school dormitory near the famous VT station, which officially changed to the Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus station. It is the dormitory of St. Xavier High School and is always empty during the school summer vacation. In the meantime, the American boy Michael has a visiting visa for 6 months and decided to use every Sunday of those 180 days in searching for his beloved Indian girlfriend Pooja, who changed her name to Christina. His thorough search is not confined to churches only, but it included public places such as buses, local trains, tourist sites, beaches, public parks, etc. While his beloved Christina was searching for her Muslim mother from one slum to another slum and from one hut to another hut, he was searching for her from place to place and church to church. If the American boyfriend Michael had to spend 6 years searching all churches in India, he would not have found his beloved Indian girlfriend Christina. The church she is attending is not registered as a church. It has been registered in the government of Maharashtra state as a Christian fellowship, and its leaders are listed as trustees and not pastors. Therefore, its name cannot be found in any phone book or can be located through an internet search. In addition, none of those pastors has been to a seminary or Bible college. Therefore, no one of them is a qualified pastor or met the Western standard of a church priest or leader. There is not much difference between the biblical knowledge of a pastor and any other ordinary member of that born-again church. Additionally, in theological education and church history, each of the 8 pastors is having zero knowledge. It was a mere coincidence or a real miracle, as Michael and Christina had later interpreted it, that the two intimate lovers met at the beautiful seashore of Marine Drive. It is the same shore where her Muslim mother Rayhana Khan many years ago had experienced her first kiss by her lover Jamal Khan, and likewise, it is the same place where her Indian daughter, Christina Lewinsky, kissed her American lover, Michael Lewinsky. In America, Michael had never called her my girlfriend, nor did Christina say to him, my lover. However, as soon as he learned that she had become a Christian girl, Michael wrote a long letter to her, confessed his love, and proposed to marry her. Unfortunately, when that love epistle was hand-delivered via his churchmate, she had already left for India. Likewise, Christina wrote a big love letter to Michael and revealed her deep love for him, but she mistakenly thought that he had made a celibacy vow before he met her, and hence he became a celibate monk and an unmarriageable and unreachable lover. Despite that misunderstanding, she always treasures, nourishes, and cherishes his genuine love in her heart and considers him her only lover and spiritual boyfriend. Amid her marital chaos and the persecution Christina is experiencing with her selfish Christian husband and evil Indian in-laws, the humiliation and rape experiences she went through in Mumbai town, plus the legal proceedings she is facing in her attempt to meet her Muslim mother, and her despair, depression, and suicidal moods, her true lover and spiritual American boyfriend Michael appeared suddenly and revived hope in her dead soul and failed married life, and he filled her heart with fresh waves of love. History has repeated itself for her, but this time in a new dynamic and a different environment. When the Somali terrorists had deprived her of her beloved husband Uncle Jimmy and her adorable daughter Rayhana, and she lost all hope in life and became suicidal, it was Michael who rescued her. It is her guardian angel and American boyfriend who crossed the Atlantic Ocean, the African continent, and the Great Arabian Sahara Desert and came again for her rescue, ready to offer his unfeigned love and unconditional support. But this time, their true love has greater challenges to face. She is no longer the free girl he first met at the Jewish home of his grandparents. She is not a pagan girl who is half a Hindu and half a Muslim or spiritually blind anymore. She became a committed Christian, and hence she met Michael's 3 conditions for an ideal Christian bride, which at that time prevented him from pursuing his love with her or hugging or kissing her. Even so, she became a seemingly unmarriageable and unreachable girl again. She is religiously and legally bound by a marriage contract with another Christian man. Michael is a very committed Christian boy, and hence he always adheres to the eternal laws of God stated forward in the Holy Bible. He cannot agree to touch a girl who is married to another man, even though she was his beloved girlfriend first and continued to love him after she got married. Michael found himself facing a serious dilemma. His bride is ready and willing, but she is married to another man. On one hand, he has been tempted to act like the King Paris of Troy, who kidnapped Helen from her husband Menelaus, king of Sparta, and hence prepared himself for the Trojan War on foreign soil and against a fierce enemy who uses the Holy Scripture to support his eternal claim on his beloved girlfriend, Christina. On the other hand, Michael thought, He should just consider himself has arrived too late and therefore pack up his belongings and take off and forget about his beloved Indian girlfriend for whom he crossed thousands of miles and has not left a stone unturned in his search for her. But he already encouraged her to walk out of her abusive married life, which she has done. Nonetheless, he cannot marry her because she is already a married woman, and if he does he will be committing adultery with her. Finally, Michael thought that the only way out of his dilemma and for them to be together as a husband and a wife must ask her to divorce her Christian husband. If she agrees to divorce her Indian husband, then he can propose and marry her. The American Christian boy is not a fanatic believer like those Indian church leaders who believe only adultery can invalidate the holy Christian marriage vow. He is like many Christian people in his country who believe all kinds of abuses, such as wife beating, sexual abuse, rape, emotional abuse, servitude, financial exploitation, and deception can be justifiable grounds for ending a Christian marriage. That day when the intimate lovers met again at the golden sands of Chowpatty Beach, Christina told Michael what she had done and invited him to come and live with her in her new apartment. Michael appreciated what she had done, but he said to her for them to live together without marriage would be religiously, socially, and morally wrong. He suggested to her that first, she must ask her church to grant her a divorce. Christina told him that her Indian church does not believe in divorce unless there is marital unfaithfulness involved. Then, Michael said, in that case, she should approach a lawyer and file for a civil divorce at the court. Christina liked the idea of getting a court divorce, but insisted that Michael must come and stay with her as a spiritual friend and not as a boyfriend or conjugal partner. She told him that she needed him to stand by her side and help her in her fight with her evil stepfather and her dispute with her selfish husband and cunning in-laws. At first, Michael is not willing to come and stay with her, but on second thought, he understands that she is still a simple and naive girl, and she is truly in need of someone to stand with her and help her. Moreover, he is encouraged to move in with her when she tells him that her new apartment has 2 bedrooms. She promised to give him 1 bedroom and she will occupy the other one. Chapter 23. The 3 Female Inquisitors. Bruno Fernandez hid the separation letter that his American wife Christina left for him and claimed that she had mysteriously disappeared and suspected that some Muslim terrorists from Mumbai town had kidnapped her. To give credence to his story, he complained to the Bandra police headquarters. It is the same police headquarters where his American wife had complained to her stepfather, the virtuous Imam Sheikh al-Din Khan. The serious problems that his wife faced in Mumbai town when she went to meet her Muslim mother led the police to believe his story of a possible terrorist kidnap. Consequently, the police of Bandra issued a citywide search warrant for the allegedly kidnapped Christian wife of Mr. Bruno Fernandez. In less than a week, the Bandra police were able to locate the hiding place of Mrs. Christina Fernandez. When the police questioned Christina, she denied being kidnapped by anyone. She told the police that she moved out of her husband's place on her own accord, and she notified him through a personal handwritten letter she left on the table in his living room on the same day she left his apartment. The cunning husband used the Bandra police to find where his American wife was hiding from him. He found her termination letter and read it and understood that she deserted him and run away, but he was scared that he might not find her by himself since they only had a few days left before their departure date to their paradise. Therefore, as soon as he got her new apartment address, he ran to his church leaders and requested them to go to his runaway American wife and convince her to return to his apartment as soon as possible. The church leadership knew that time was of the essence for the Fernandez family, who is scheduled to fly to the Promised Land soon. The family members have no time for spiritual counseling, marriage adjustment, and the like. They called upon the main 3 pastors' wives who were themselves the top female pastors in the church and sent them after the runaway American wife. The leadership instructed the 3 women to convince by hook or by crook Sister Christina to return to the fold. They are told to transfer her back to her husband and to get her prepared for her soon upcoming overseas trip to the New World. Like the secret police of the Gestapo or the Inquisition, those 3 female leaders stormed the apartment of the runaway rebellious wife. The 3 female inquisitors have determined to burn her alive at the stake or cut her tongue, blinding her eyes, and completely mutilated her if she refused to recant her heretical beliefs and return to her lawful Christian husband with whom only death can set them apart. It so happened that when those female pastors arrived unexpectedly at the new apartment of Sister Christina, they found a handsome young white guy staying with her in an open adulterous relationship. Their incredible finding and the immoral discovery caused them to forget about their important divine mission and return to their houses. Each one of them informed her husband. And then she picked up her phone and disclosed the latest ugly scandal to their respective female confidants. One of the three ladies, who is the wife of the key pastor, added some nasty spices to her rumor. She claimed that she had caught Sister Christina, the wife of Brother Bruno Fernandez, red-handed on the bed with a handsome young white man, in the very act of committing adultery. Subsequently, on Sunday service, every member of the congregation has come to know that the American wife Sister Christina has left her lawful Indian husband Brother Bruno, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Fernandez, and eloped with a handsome white guy. The morning the three women have discovered the so-called scandalous adultery of the American wife has coincidentally happened to be the day of the farewell party, which is to take place on the same very evening of that Sunday. Every believer in that church has been convinced by the pastor's wife to believe that the wife of Brother Bruno, Sister Christina, is now living in a shameful adulterous relationship with a white handsome guy who is most probably an American young man. Everyone accepted such a rumor as a true story except her husband and her in-laws. Bruno, his parents, and siblings believe that Christina did that on purpose to obtain a divorce on the grounds of marital unfaithfulness or confirmed adultery. They went to the extent of claiming that Sister Christina had paid a young white man from among the Calaba foreign drug addicts. She bribed him financially, enticed him sexually, and therefore convinced him to stay with her until she could get a divorce under adultery and unfaithfulness. As a result, Bruno's parents, brothers, and sisters convinced him not to demand a divorce from his American wife on the grounds of infidelity or confirmed adultery, which was witnessed by three female leaders of the church. Some of the church leaders accepted Fernandez's theory, especially when Sister Christina phoned the senior pastor and his wife and demanded that failure to grant her an immediate divorce would result in a civil lawsuit and a subsequent court divorce. The pastor told her that she would be committing a terrible sin if she approached the unbelievers and sought their assistance. He then ordered her to rebuke the devil, kick her white foreign accomplice out of her apartment, and return to her lawfully wedded husband. After the surprise visit of the three female pastors and her phone conversation with the senior pastor, Christina decided to file for a divorce in court. She got in touch with a big lawyer at Bandra Court and explained her desire to divorce her Christian husband. The lawyer told her that getting a divorce in India is a particularly long and tedious process. Howbeit, if her husband is willing to sign the divorce papers along with her, then it will be granted instantly. A contested divorce for married Christians under Indian laws requires a 2-year separation period before the marriage contract can be dissolved. He explained further that divorce for the followers of Islam can be granted in a short time, such as a single-day visit to the court. Sharia law permits a Muslim husband to divorce his wife without the need to go to court. He just have to say to his wife, "Talak, talak, talak," or "I divorce you, and I divorce you, my wife," and voila, she is divorced. He is not required to give any reason for divorcing her. However, a Muslim wife cannot divorce her husband unless there is a strong reason, such as desertion for a long time, and that too after long religious and legal procedures. Hindus almost have no way of divorcing their life partners. Likewise, Indian Christians have overly complicated and difficult laws for marriage and divorce. India is the only country in the world that grants Muslims the right to practice partially some of their Mohammedan laws, which are universally known as the Sharia law. Christina was disappointed to hear of such difficulty in getting a court divorce and hence went back to the church and begged the leaders to divorce her from her selfish and abusive Christian husband and free her from the harassment of his two sisters. The 8 pastors collectively decided never to grant her a divorce. They told her that she could never get a divorce even if she was separated from her husband for 100 years. Only death can separate her from him. The male leaders refused to believe the story of the so-called confirmed adultery. They said none of the three female leaders could supply a single photo or a video supposedly taken through their cell phones when they caught Sister Christina and the handsome white guy on the bed in the very act of adultery. Without supplying substantial evidence, their story of adultery is rejected. Moreover, the American wife has not admitted her adultery, and upon questioning her, she vehemently denied it. Finally, Christina discussed her insoluble problem with her lover and spiritual boyfriend, the complete Jew Michael Lewinsky, but she found him unable to do anything to help her to release herself from her holy Christian marriage vow. Accordingly, Christina found herself being locked up forever in a marital jail that no one could set her free from except death.